Alright, doing a little bit of setup. I'll try to give you post a time when this actually starts down in the description, so just look for my pinned comment with time, click the time, and it will advance you to the business part of this video. Right now I have to take care of a little bit of the formalities and make sure that it's actually working. I made the mistake of doing a live feed one time and there was no sound, so that was a real fun experience. I'm trying to avoid it because I'm not trying to have that kind of fun today. Okay, go to YouTube, home, Mr. Draws. Am I getting anything? There we go. I think I got it now. Am I getting anything? Yeah, I'm getting something. Alright, let me listen to it for a second, because one time I did, the sound was working, but it was echoing terrible. I think I got it now. Okay, alright, good deal. Life is good. I love it when things work, because that's not always the case. Now, let me find something here. Set this guy up so I can see what's happening. Oh yeah, yeah. Things just are supposed to work. Okay, that's what I'm seeing, and I've got my live there. Okay, I wonder if it'll pick up over here. Sometimes I have such a terrible Wi-Fi signal. Okay, looks like it's going. Let me collect myself for a second. Alright. Let me explain this. And let me see, what time do we have on this so far? 3 minutes. So about 3 minutes in. And you should be getting to the meat of this video. So I've been working on this, and I will be posting a video that shows how this started out, but I wanted to do a live video with it mostly complete, just to spark interest. So, you know, I think if people saw the video of it just starting out, they wouldn't have been as impressed, because it's kind of hard to have vision when you see it at first. So I'm showing it now, and I'm going to do some finishing work here and zip up some details. Probably be about an hour long video, and then later on I'll post how this started, and then you can, if you guys want to try it yourself, you'll have some idea of how I went about it. So let me describe some of the details that I've put in here so far, and I'll move this up here. The roof is shingled with pine cone petals. Do I have some samples of those? So I take a pine cone and cut the petals off, and then each one of those becomes a shingle, and I think they kind of resemble the ceramic shingles that you see in like in China and Japan. So that was one of the techniques that I used for this, for the details. And there's kind of irregular surfaces because I used some irregular shaped sticks to frame the house, to kind of give it some whimsy. I'm going to lift this up so it's not grinding everywhere. Okay, there we go. I took tissue paper and a glue wash, a pigmented glue wash, and did a kind of decoupage style application to get the walls all colored, and they're pretty tight, and you can feel it. It's paper, but it doesn't look like it. It sure doesn't. And once it was kind of framed and papered, then I made some windows and framed those with sticks. Another one on the other side here. And then I took some decorative botanicals that you can get in like bags of potpourri, and I put that I put those along the top to make an awning. Thanks, Freebird. Thanks, appreciate that. I think this one's turned out really nice. I've done dozens of these, and every time I do them, they just get better and better. Not trying to brag on myself, but I try to learn. And this one's probably the best one I've made so far. So for the details, I use a lot of botanicals, natural botanicals. I've got lichen, thin pieces of bark, bearded moss, some colored lichen here, and I've pieced those together. I even have some synthetic hobby moss in here for contrast, texture, and color, and it's also going to define a pathway that's going to work itself up along these stones, which I have polished stones as a stepping way there, and some crystalled stones here to kind of block it off and give some interest. And I've got this volcanic stone here. It's got some beautiful blue colors, and it's got some copper metallic-y colors in it too, so that's really pretty. Then I got a clear crystal right here, and it's actually setting over a light, and I'll explain those in just a second. And I have some white crystals here all clumped together. I clumped those together myself. They didn't come that way. I put them together so it looked like a cluster, and that's setting over a light as well. So I'll explain those to you here in just a second. But on the front porch, you can see the front porch is covered here with bark, and there's these really beautiful sticks that I found and pieced in. And this is all hot glued. All the decoratives are pretty much hot glued in place, and then they're preserved and treated with a wash of glue, pigmented glue. So let's get to the light sections of this, because this is where it becomes functional, because now it's an accent light. Let me cut this out up here. And on the side I have a little battery pack, and underneath this, let me turn that back on, sorry, didn't mean to jump the gun a little bit. The base is made of 3 of those glass trays that you can put votive candles on, and I've affixed those together as well as I can with hot glue. And then underneath those I've fastened a set of hobby lights, LED hobby lights. There's 10 of them. They're blue colored, and I've strategically placed those in there so that it can have a really stunning effect. So let's see that. Click this on here, and you can see the light glows up through the house because the house is placed directly on the glass. There's nothing between the glass, the house inside, and the lights underneath, so that will shine. And then the rim of the glass will reflect those lights through, and it's also spraying light down on the surface here, wherever it's going to be sitting at. And you can see that's quite stunning, absolutely stunning. And one of the things, I don't know if you can see here, this, I'll try to point to it, this crystal is just brilliant setting there. It just looks really, really pretty. And if the lights were a little bit darker, you could see that these crystals here are also glowing as well. So the moss and stuff is going to hide a lot of the light, so that it's pretty much limited to the splash on the surface it's setting on, the rim of the glass here, the inside of this house, and then through the crystals. So now I need to cover the glass to make sure that I achieve this effect. So that'll be, oops, sorry, didn't mean to launch you guys off to the side there. I had to put a little backer here so you guys could see better, because I had all kinds of stuff in the way. I had this all taped nicely. I worked a while on it, and now I touched it once and it's falling apart. Let me set that up a little bit. Sorry about the distraction. Here, I'm not sure what's really going on or why. Don't ever buy cheap tape. Spend money on tape. I'm telling you, you just cannot the people that make tape that costs a little bit more, like 3M, they're not taking a huge profit off of that because the industry's so marginalized. So they're making a really good tape at about the least amount of money you can expect to pay for it. So don't cheap out on tape. You will regret it if you're doing anything important with it. If it's just going to be on a package and it gets torn open, that's fine. Cheapo tape's fine. But if you want it to do anything for you, like hold anything for a minute, don't skimp. Get the Scotch, the 3M, whatever it is. Okay, let's see, where are we at now? I know I want to live in here too. I'm sorry I'm so slow on the chat, Freebird. Just be patient. I'll try to look over every once in a while. Yeah, I want to live there. I sure do. So before I started this feed, last night I said the F word because I was having a really hard time working with this because it wasn't balanced and it kept tipping and teetering and rocking around, and it was driving me insane. And it caused me, instead of fixing it, I just launched into obscenities. So this morning, before I even started the video, I didn't want to have any F words in here. So I fixed the bass. I actually took some botanicals there and made a bit of a cushion. So it's not the nicest looking, but it's going to keep it balanced, and it kind of adds to it. You know, a little bit of botanicals fell down there, the little hidden zone, whatever. Okay, so I think last night, if you're interested in this entire process, you just go to my YouTube channel, go up to my banner, there's my Facebook link, click my Facebook link. I've made 4 videos of this, all about 45 minutes long or so. 4 videos that progress through this, so they're live videos as I'm making it. So if you're interested, click through those. I think they're viewable to anyone, so you don't even have to friend request me to see them. But if you want to friend request me, I'll click on you. So we'll be friends. You can check out my stuff because it's I enjoy looking at it. I know people enjoy looking at it, and I offer it there for people to enjoy. So bearded moss time. We're coming to cover this grass, and I think what I'm going to do first is piece in the pathway with this synthetic moss. Well, let me put you down here so you can see the action. I had this, I cleaned up. This is actually really, really organized. If you watch the live feeds, you can see it gets quite chaotic, quite disastrous in my work area. I try to be as neat as I can, but sometimes the process just demands a little neglect on one end in order to make sure that it's nice and neat on the other. So this is nice and neat. My counter was a wreck, and that's how I work as an artist. I'm much neater when I cook, but I get kind of reckless. I take no prisoners when I make art. So I have this synthetic moss, and I'm running out. I have a bag of moss here. Looks like a big bag of weed. It's like, no, it's synthetic hobby moss. It's legit. And it comes in big clumps. It's kind of like ground foam. And I guess I grind it pretty fresh because it sticks back together. It will clump back together. So I pull that apart, break it up like you would some stinky weed. I'm going to get my video demonetized. I keep talking about drugs. Don't do drugs, kids. So put that on there. I'm just saying it looks like it. I promise you, if you smoked this, you wouldn't live through it. This would put you in the grave. It's made all kinds of nasty stuff. I don't even really like using it in my model because everything else is real. It's organic. And then I've got this inorganic stuff here. And I think if I was trying to follow a true theme, that would be unacceptable. But I'm not. And I want something that's a color and texture contrast. And I just can't get it as easily as I can by this craft foam. So got me this here. Well, let's move you up here so you guys can see the action a little bit. You guys see what's happening? All right. You can see what's happening over here, right? Okay. Oh, I have little sticks and stuff here. Let me show you these. These are really cool. Can you see that? I know my camera doesn't focus. It just has a fixed focus. But that's a little stick with little baby lichens on it. And they make great decoratives, like for for borders. I made one of these. It had a little wooden fence that went around that was made from tiny sticks like that. So I mean, it's the creativity potential for this project is endless. And you don't have to be a great sculptor. When I did my very first one, which I loved, it's beautiful. It's not as technical as this, but it is really notable. I wasn't really sculpting so much at that point, but I wanted to make a nice gift for a friend, and I thought that I could because children were making these. Maybe they weren't the most elaborate ones, but it was a project for kids, and I'm like, well, I'm all about projects for kids. I love them. Love art projects for kids. I have so much fun, and I wanted to give it a try. I'm so glad I did. I thought, I could probably elevate this, so I did some research. As soon as I Google searched fairy houses online, I think I Yahoo searched it at the time because it was a long time ago. It came back with this gentleman that does these sand-casted ones that are just so exquisite, terribly expensive. And I was like, oh wow, he's making a killing off of these. Maybe I should give it a try. So I've been trying to make these as awesomely as he does, but I don't want to do the same thing he does, of course. I don't want to sand cast mine, so I had to think of a different material, a different way. But I definitely did copy his style of taking the sticks, these sticks that move are different shapes and stuff, and not going with something that's really linear and framed like an architect built it, because it's a fairy house. It's not, the fairy didn't go to an architecture firm and get designs drafted with materials that are commercially available. It wasn't like that. You guys get it, right? So you kind of follow that notion whenever you're making these, and he was really smart in making his sand casted. I did a sand casted one. It was a magic house. This thing was so crazily elaborate, I'd had to have charged $1,000 for it to get my money back. It had 3 sides, and then one side was open like a dollhouse, and you could see inside this magic house, and it had shelves, and it had crystal skylights and tiny little books and magic things like magic hat and wands with gems on. It was just, you wouldn't even have believed it. And I think my cousin has that now. It was one of the things that I had to leave in Iowa to move out here, and I regret it terribly. But I figured at the time, it is what it is. If I had sold it, it would be gone from my life. So it's just like full circle that way. Plus, when I give away art, it's with the understanding that I'm probably going to make another one of those, and it's going to be 10 times better than the one I gave away. So I'm sorry about anybody who buys the first of my things because the next generation is going to be awesomer. And that's how it was with my wire guys, my wire sculptures, which I'm going to do a video of those too. I haven't done a video of making those really, like in real time. I did a speed art video of it, so you can check those out. It's on my channel. But okay, now that's the path. Cup this moss, webs and all. It's got glue webs in it, and I don't want to take up your time picking those out. But ordinarily, I would stop the presses and pick all those pieces out. So now this moss that has been sealed with glue, I'm checking it now, and it is really firm. And of course, some of these little pieces are going to break off. They're going to be gone. When whoever purchases this, those will fall off. So, don't lose your mind. Some of the stuff will go away. But I'm going to blast it with air, and I'm going to try to basically destroy it a little bit. I'm going to put some stress on it to see what happens. And then if something breaks, I'm going to fix it and make it better, like the Bionic Man. And then it will go out to the customer. I don't want to send anything to the customer that they're not even going to get to see, because it's going to get destroyed on the way there. So Got to make sure it's as durable as I can possibly make it. All right, so now I think it's bearded moss time in there. And didn't I have a big, I did right here. Okay, this has a big trunk going through it, which I'm not really keen on that. I'll give this guy a haircut. Now it's a mustache. Be all weedy Steve Harvey with that. Got me some fresh glue here, all jabbed in. All right. And since I got this rock, since I have this rock here, it's okay to put something a little bit more normal on this edge. I mean, something, by normal I mean unremarkable. It's not got a gem or anything like that in it. And then right here on this edge, I'm thinking about putting something nice, and I'm not sure what quite yet. But I think it does, so that the eye kind of gets carried along and through this sculpture, just like if it was a painting. Oh, it kind of looks like a hedge now. That might go well right there, or maybe even along the back. I think that'll go nice along the back. So see, I can use all of that. Perfect. I hate throwing anything away. I want to use as much as I can. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting lost here. This one took, how long did this one take? I have 4 live feeds, and they average about 45 minutes long. And then I have some footage on my computer that took maybe an hour and a half. So I might have maybe, 5 hours or so, 5-6 hours into this, possibly. Maybe not that much, but a lot. It takes a lot of time. This will amount, when I sell this, will get me about a week's pay, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm going to put a week's work basically into it and get a week's pay out of it. That's my hopes. Let's turn you guys up here so you can see what's happening. Okay, now I got to get my glue wash. And I'll explain this glue wash to you. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think that's in the video that that's going to be the follow-up of this one that shows how this started. So, tissue. There we go. I made the mistake of leaving my brush out last night with glue on it. So I had to basically steam blast the bristles to get them to unglue. So I take a little bit of water and some pigment and some glue. So about 1/3, 1-to-2 ratio of glue to water, basically. Or, yeah. And then a little bit of color. I made some green here. I made some brown here. And when I set these away last night, because I'm going to reuse them, I added a little bit more water, so I'm going to add a little bit more glue and kind of bring this up to the consistency. Now this helps stiffen these botanicals and holds them together so that they don't break off, because it's organic. This material will degrade over time, just like books and stuff. You know, tiny insects we can't see will break down it molds, stuff like that. So you want to treat it and slow down that or stop that process as much as you can. So that's what I'm doing here, is I'm trying to stop and slow down how this will break down over time. If you're really, really delicate with one of these, and if you can put it someplace away from where there's no dust, like in a curio cabinet or something like that, would be optimal. And if you dust it, you use a little paintbrush and just dust everything off and lightly blow it away, and then put it back, it'll last for a lifetime probably. I don't know how much longer after that though, because even books that are treated and bleached and chemicaled, that paper will break down over time. The more treated it is, of course, longer it takes. But this isn't, I don't want to put any poisons or chemicals or benzenes, or I don't want to put anything on here that's going to make it dangerous. So expect that it will eventually fade with age, just like anything. But you'll get a lot of, if what I'm asking for it, you'll get a lot of value out of it. Okay, let me see here. Let me see here. Is this actual moss you used? Would it not die after a little while? Yes, that's just what I was saying. It will die, and it will die after a while. But floral shops will actually sell mosses and botanicals that are treated in such a way that slow that process. You have to keep in mind too that mosses and lichens, the mycelium tissue on this lichen is like leather. It's not going anywhere. It's pretty durable. The cellular membranes are really, really strong. So even though they do break down, they stay together pretty well. You just have to keep insects and molds and funguses off of them. And you can actually give it a light spray with an antifungal. And that's what they do, this commercially available stuff. They spray them with chemicals to keep them from breaking down. So that was a really great question. Yeah, sorry it took me forever to see that. I'm so awful with live feeds. I don't even know why I'm doing. I try to pay attention to the feed, but I just get in my own world. And then the technology, things don't scroll down, or they're not. So I don't know who said what when. So that kind of confuses me. But yeah, thanks for stopping by and asking a question about it, because when I first made these, that was a primary concern of mine. How long will these last? So I made one, and then I subjected it to the most awful conditions possible. I let dust build up on it like you wouldn't believe. Bumped it, shook it, kept it in a bad spot. Just whatever a person would do that's just reckless with their art, I did. And I did that for about 6 years. And by the end of it, it looked like it had it. But I took all the dust off of it and preened out the stuff that was falling off. And I had put in enough stuff to where it could handle it, and it still looked nice afterward. So I was really surprised by that. After 6 years and being terribly, terribly abused, it still looked nice. And I attribute that to the fact that it's such an organic piece. If this breaks off, it's still going to look cool. It's still going to look like a house. It's still going to follow this zany rule. So, yeah. Let me see. Here, pull that back up. I want to make sure you guys can see what's happening. And I'm using brown on this because I want to get a contrasting color in the moss. And I'll put some green in there, which will make it look a little bit more vibrant. Because the chlorophyll, which gives it its green color, will break down over time. That does break down. It's not a very strong compound. But the cell walls that hold it will keep it all together. So I'm just adding this green in to make sure it still keeps that color, life color. Feel like a mortician. Look alive. Right. So I do love these little viney parts here. I think I'm going to try to exploit that a little bit. Make it look like it's growing. If I can. It was born that way. Tweezers. Like surgery. Now chances are this may get lost, but I'm going to try my best to make sure it stays. In fact, I'm going to glue it in place and put a few more there. Okay, so let's glue him down. This stuff is really tough. It's you have to give it a good tug to get it to come loose. And it's this is bearded moss, and it looks like tiny little vines, like jungle vines, is how it grows all together. And I pulled the vines parts off and put them along the top, so it gives that miniature vine feel. You guys can see there. So just a little bit left to this work here on the base. It's probably one of the most elaborate mountain moss bases I've made. I'm really happy with it. I'm gonna think about what I'm gonna put there. But in the meantime, turn this guy around. I wish I had one of those like Lazy Susans or one of those things that I could just spin my work around. I've been looking for one like a Goodwill. I want something like I can hack and make for free or just a few bucks. I don't want to spend a lot of money. I love that. Whatever I can do to not have to spend money, not that I'm cheap. I mean, I have my limits. I'm not going to really dumpster dive so much. I'm not above it. If there's something good in there, I will. I don't care what's in there. But it has to be really good. But I do like to reuse. I'm one of those. Repurpose. Love repurposing things. Now this doesn't matter so much because it's going to be in the back of wherever this is displayed. However, someone may display it somewhere where you can see everything. Both sides or all sides. So I don't want it to be sloppy, of course. I had some I treated last night. Yes. I'm probably the only person that grabs a chunk of lichen and goes, yes! Like it's the best thing ever. Okay, I like that, how it's kind of grown up. There's no window there, so I can be generous with this business back here. And make sure he stays in place up against that house. Hold it there. Let me see, how long am I in for? 32 minutes. Okay, I'm making good time on this. When I was doing the live feed and shingling the roof, I'm flying through it. You guys are watching, I'm just like, you know, doing it as fast as I can. And when I was watching it back, editing it, I was like, is this on fast 2 times? No, it's 1 time. I'm moving that fast. And the reason why is because this does take hours to make. So if I, am all taking forever on the roof, that's money out of my pocket. So the faster I can move to get the time down on this, the more I'm going to make, because no one else is going to be able to duplicate this for under that time. It's like the race is on for me. I want to make something that if a competing artist tried to make it, they're going to take twice as long. So they're going to have to charge twice as much, and that gets me into the market a little bit better. So work fast if you can. It's actually to your benefit to work as fast as you can and still keep the quality up. Get those 2 points that intersect and stay in that sweet zone. And you'll do the best when it comes to selling stuff like this. All right. You know what I need to do? I need to shut this light off and look at it with the lights on and see how it's playing. And get you guys out here. Pick it up and can you see how that crystal grows there? You can see inside the house a little bit. I don't think I'm going to put a door on there, honestly. I was going to detail it with the door, but I like being able to see in there easily. If I put a door, even if you can open it, it's not going to be as nice. So I am so happy with this. I'm really, I don't want to be like all proud and everything, but I really am. I think I did a really good job. And there's no reason why a person can't be happy with a job well done. But it's not done yet. I got to put this on. And what time is it too? I got an appointment here. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So I got about 8 minutes left on this. I like that part back there. So let's just put that guy in. We can do that detail right now. and we'll put the wood part outward so it has a visual component that's kind of compelling, and it breaks this up. Looks like it lives there, doesn't it? And I think this right here might be a little path that goes back. So grab my green foam here, fresh glue stick, and I'm going to continue this process back here like there's a path that goes to the clothesline. Because, you know, fairies, they need to dry their clothes in the sun. They like that smell, that air-dried smell. Make up these stories. I got little webs and stuff in this moss. It's alright, because I'm going to take tweezers and I'm going to pick them out later anyway. So I'm not going to take the time to do it now, because I think it's just a waste of time, because I'm going to have to do it again. Go right up to the edge and pay attention to what's going on. No, I don't have an online store. I did do what's it called? Not Pinterest. Etsy. I had an Etsy store, but the administrative costs for it just weren't worth it for me. I had to spend more time taking photos and writing descriptions and setting up the product, and for some of the things that I sell, it was just pointless. Like my wire armatures, I sell those for about $20 a piece, and those work out okay, but I would end up with so many orders. That's all I would be making with my life, is wire guys. So I kind of had to shut that down and work on larger pieces like this. But mostly I sell through Facebook, believe it or not. That's where like 90% of my sales come from, are through private messages in Facebook. Half the time I don't even solicit. I just post the artwork and some details about it. I don't list a price or anything, and people will be like, how is that available? You know, they'll ask. And a lot of times I'll just tell people I have art, so let me know. So I sell stuff that way. I had a website for years, and I couldn't get people to go there. It was too much work. I was more time worrying about that than what it was for. And since most people live in Facebook or at these social places, I understood that I had to go where people live. So I just concentrate most of my efforts on Facebook. I was doing Reddit, but Reddit made me mad, so I canceled them basically. It's like, nope, you're not worth it. Instagram, post stuff on there, so yeah. Let's get that guy to go in a little bit better. And when I tell people I'm a material sculptor, this is usually what I'm describing. Although I do sculpt in other materials, this is my bread and butter right there. And it's the funnest. It's just a blast to do. I wish you guys would try it. If you sketch or anything, or don't limit yourself. Give it a try. Do some sculpting. Might surprise yourself if you haven't already. I don't know. Does anybody sculpt that's in chat? Do you guys do anything like this? I mean, not like this, but, you know, outside of sketching and painting. It'd be really fun to know. I'm not sure that I know a lot of artists that are comfortable doing sculpting, that are really comfortable doing painting and stuff. It's like, seems like most artists are either sculptors in that, or they're painters and sketchers or whatever. Okay, so I'm at 40 minutes. That's a good live feed. I'm at 1:30 on my time. That worked out perfectly. I couldn't have timed that better. So there you have it, guys. It's almost done. It's beautifully, beautifully decorated mountain fairy house with lights, accent light, 3-tier. And I'm going to work on just picking the stuff out in that. So it's pretty much finished for the most part. And I'm going to have another video uploaded that's going to show you how this all started. So be on the lookout for that. And I really, let me see. Oh yeah, you guys are answering your questions. Good. All right. Oh, clay and potter. Yeah, I started out with clay before I did these, and I can sculpt faces so much easier than I can draw them, which is really weird. I don't know why. So when it comes to making figures, I would rather sculpt them than draw them any day. But yeah, I appreciate the answer there. That's some good insight. But I have to get out of here. I have a call coming in. I have an appointment to get to, and my feed is going a little bit longer than I wanted. But I really appreciate you guys stopping by. It's been a joy showing you this, and I'm really happy that you have enjoyed it, and be on the lookout for that video. And if you like this and other videos kind of like this, check out at the end I'm going to put a link to a playlist that has a bunch of stuff like this. So click that, and I'll see you guys later.